Welcome to Empathy Stories, where we dive into powerful tales that inspire change and spark compassion. Today, we explore the incredible journey of Shaquille O'Neal, who turned a moment of prejudice into a movement of hope and transformation. Stay tuned to witness how adversity can fuel extraordinary impact. Shaquille O'Neal stood on the balcony of his Miami penthouse, the glowing skyline of the city stretching endlessly before him. The evening breeze carried the salty tang of the ocean, but it did little to calm the storm in his mind. For all the world knew, Shaquille had it all: fame, wealth, and influence. Yet, he stood there, wrestling with a decision that felt both exciting and monumental. A private jet. The idea had lingered in his mind for weeks, a luxury that many would envy. But for Shaquille, it represented something far greater. To most, a private jet was a symbol of opulence, an extravagant indulgence meant to flaunt one's success. But for Shaquille, it was a tool, a bridge to reach places where he could make a difference. He thought back to a trip he had taken to a struggling school in rural Mississippi. The children he met there were bright, filled with potential, but weighed down by circumstances beyond their control. The visit left an indelible mark on him. He wanted to do more, to reach more communities like this one. Commercial flights made such visits difficult and inefficient. The idea of owning a jet began to feel less like a luxury and more like a necessity. The ringing of his phone broke his reverie. It was Marcus, his longtime business advisor and confidant. "You're still thinking about it, aren't you?" Marcus asked, his voice carrying a mix of humor and understanding. Shaquille chuckled. "You know me too well. It's not about just owning a jet, Marcus. It's about using it for something bigger." "I know, but you also know people are going to talk. They'll see the jet and think you're just another rich guy showing off." "Let them talk," Shaquille said, his tone firm. "They'll see soon enough. This isn't about ego. It's about freedom and opportunity." That night, as the city lights twinkled like stars below, Shaquille made his decision. He was going to take the leap. Over the following weeks, he immersed himself in the world of aviation. He met with manufacturers, toured hangars, and examined jets of every size and configuration. For Shaquille, the process was as exhilarating as it was eye-opening. Each visit reminded him of the purpose behind this venture, the ability to reach people, to provide hope where it was most needed. Finally, after much deliberation, he chose a sleek model that balanced luxury with practicality. It was spacious enough to accommodate his team and equipped with the latest technology. But what excited Shaquille most wasn't the plush leather seats or the panoramic windows. It was the possibilities this jet represented. The day of the jet's arrival was filled with anticipation. The Miami sun glinted off the metallic body of the aircraft as it was wheeled onto the tarmac. Shaquille stood nearby, a mix of pride and gratitude swelling in his chest. This wasn't just a purchase. It was a testament to how far he had come. He thought about the younger version of himself, a lanky kid with big dreams and even bigger obstacles. This jet was proof that those dreams had taken flight. As he prepared for the inaugural journey, Shaquille couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. The first trip was planned to visit 3 schools in different parts of the country, each struggling with the challenges of poverty and limited resources. This was his chance to show the world, and himself, that this jet was more than just a symbol. It was a vehicle for change. That morning, he arrived at Orlando Executive Airport, where his jet awaited. The crew buzzed with activity, preparing for the flight. Shaquille took a moment to take it all in, the hum of the engines and the crisp air filling him with a sense of purpose. But just as he began to board, a voice rang out behind him. "Hey, you, hold it right there." Shaquille turned to see a security guard approaching, his posture rigid and his expression stern. The man looked Shaquille up and down, his gaze filled with suspicion. "This is a private airstrip. You're not supposed to be here," the guard said, his tone laced with hostility. Shaquille kept his composure. "I know. I'm here for my flight," he replied, gesturing toward the jet. "That's my plane." The guard laughed a sharp, dismissive sound. "Your plane? That's funny. Let's see some ID." Shaquille handed over his documents. his patience wearing thin. The guard scrutinized them, his disbelief evident. "This can't be right," the man muttered, before glancing back at Shaquille. "How exactly did you afford a plane like this?" Shaquille's jaw tightened. He had dealt with prejudice before, but it never failed to sting. "I worked for it," he said evenly. "Now, if you're done, I'd like to get on my flight." But the guard didn't step aside. Instead, he crossed his arms and said, "I'm calling the police." Within minutes, sirens wailed as 2 patrol cars arrived. The officers approached, their hands resting on their belts, while the guard animatedly gestured in Shaquille's direction. Despite having all the necessary documents, Shaquille found himself subjected to an interrogation. The officers examined his paperwork with a skepticism that cut deep. "This looks legitimate," one of them finally admitted, "but we'll need to verify it." As the verification process dragged on, Shaquille stood by his jet, his arms crossed. Memories of past indignities flooded his mind. He had thought he'd left those experiences behind, but here they were again, resurfacing in a moment that should have been celebratory. Nearly an hour later, the officers confirmed his ownership. "You're free to go," one of them said, his tone begrudging. Shaquille accepted his documents, his voice steady but tinged with frustration. "No apology for wasting my time? For assuming I didn't belong here?" The officer hesitated, but before he could respond, the guard interjected. "We were just doing our job." Shaquille met the man's gaze. "No, you weren't. You were profiling me. And you know it." The guard's smirk faded, but Shaquille didn't wait for a response. He turned and boarded his jet. The moment that had once felt like a triumphant milestone, now tainted by the bitter taste of injustice. As the engines roared to life and the jet ascended into the sky, Shaquille stared out the window. His mind churned, not with defeat, but with resolve. This wasn't over. He would take this experience and turn it into something meaningful, something no one could ignore. As Shaquille O'Neal's jet soared through the skies, the view of the vast expanse below did little to soothe his simmering frustration. What should have been a triumphant moment had been sullied by the blatant prejudice of the security guard and the dismissive behavior of the authorities. He leaned back in his seat, his massive frame tense with unresolved anger. Memories of the encounter replayed in his mind like a relentless loop. The guard's sneer, the thinly veiled disdain, the insinuations that he didn't belong. His assistant, Laura, sitting across the cabin, noticed his unease. She closed her laptop, her usual efficient demeanor replaced by genuine concern. "Shaq, you've been quiet. Talk to me," she said, her tone soft but insistent. Shaquille exhaled deeply, running a hand over his face. "I'm just tired of this," he said, his voice low and measured. "No matter how far I've come, there are still people out there who look at me and see nothing but a stereotype. It doesn't matter how hard I've worked or what I've achieved." Laura nodded, her eyes filled with empathy. "It's not fair, and it's not right. But what happened this morning?" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "It's not just about you. It's about everyone who's ever been treated that way." Shaquille leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly. "I know that, and that's why I can't just let it slide. If I stay quiet, I'm letting them win, not just for me, but for every kid out there who looks like me and dreams big." Laura reached for her tablet, an idea forming in her mind. "Then let's do something about it. Share your story. Speak up. People listen when you talk. Shaq, maybe this is your chance to start a conversation that really matters." Her words planted a seed. For the rest of the flight, Shaquille sat in contemplative silence, the anger inside him slowly transforming into determination. By the time they landed at their first destination, a community center in rural Alabama, he had made up his mind. After an inspiring visit with the local children, Shaquille returned to his car and pulled out his phone. Sitting in the back seat, he hit the record button, his large hands steady despite the intensity of his emotions. "Today was supposed to be a celebration," he began, his deep voice resonant but filled with emotion. "The first flight in my new jet, a symbol of how far I've come and everything I've worked for. But instead, I was met with suspicion, hostility, and doubt, not because of anything I did wrong, but because of how I look, because some people still can't see past the color of my skin. He paused, gathering his thoughts. This isn't just about me. It's about a system that judges people unfairly, no matter how much they've achieved. And it has to stop. We need to talk about this. We need to demand better. For me, for you, for all of us. Shaquille ended the video with a promise. This isn't over. I'm not going to let this moment pass without turning it into something positive. Together, we can do better. He hit upload, and within hours, the video went viral. Social media exploded with support. The hashtags #FlyingWhileBlack and #ShaqSpeaksOut trending across platforms. Celebrities, activists, and ordinary people shared the video, offering their own stories of discrimination and frustration for every voice of encouragement. However, there were also detractors, comments accusing Shaquille of overreacting or seeking attention. But he refused to be distracted by negativity. He knew his message was resonating where it mattered most. As the video's reach grew, so did the opportunities to turn his words into action. Requests for interviews flooded in, from major news networks to influential podcasts. Shaquille decided to accept an invitation from a national morning show, knowing it would give him a platform to speak directly to millions. The morning of the interview, Shaquille sat across from the host in a sleek New York City studio. The bright lights and polished set felt far removed from the airstrip where everything had unfolded. But his determination remained undiminished. Shaquille, thank you for being here. The host began. Your video struck a chord with so many people. Can you tell us why you decided to share your experience? Shaquille nodded, his expression thoughtful. Because this isn't just about me. It's about a system that still sees some people as less than, no matter how hard they've worked or what they've achieved. I've been given a platform, and it's my responsibility to use it, not just to talk about the problem, but to work toward solutions. What kind of solutions are you envisioning? The host pressed. I'm still figuring that out, Shaquille admitted. But I know it starts with conversations like this, acknowledging that there's a problem and challenging ourselves to do better. Beyond that, I want to use my resources to make a difference, whether it's through community programs, scholarships, or mentorship. I'm committed to turning this moment into a movement. The host smiled, clearly impressed. It's a powerful mission. Shaquille, thank you for sharing it with us. As the interview aired, the momentum continued to build. Donations poured into organizations fighting systemic discrimination. Stories from people who had faced similar situations flooded Shaquille's inbox, each one a reminder of why he had chosen to speak out. But one message stood out, a heartfelt email from a young man named Marcus, a baggage handler at a regional airport. Mr. O'Neill, Marcus wrote, I watched your video and felt like you were speaking for people like me. I've been passed over for promotions so many times because people assume I'm not good enough. Thank you for showing us that we're not invisible. Shaquille read the email twice, his chest tightening. Marcus's words reignited his resolve. This was about more than calling out injustice. It was about empowering people to believe in their worth and potential. And for Shaquille, this was only the beginning. The buzz around Wings of Hope grew louder with every mission completed. What had begun as Shaquille O'Neal's response to a personal encounter with prejudice had blossomed into a movement that was touching lives across the country. Yet, Shaquille knew this was only the beginning. While he was proud of the progress, he remained deeply aware that there was still so much work to be done. Sitting in his Miami office, Shaquille studied the latest reports from Wings of Hope. Each page was filled with stories of people whose lives had been changed. A family reunited after years of separation. A student accepted into college after attending one of the program's mentorship dinners. A hurricane-stricken community receiving critical supplies. The impact was undeniable. Yet Shaquille's mind was already on the next step. Laura entered, her expression one of excitement. Shaq, you have to see this, she said, holding up her tablet. The video from Mia's flight has gone viral. People are sharing it everywhere. Donations are pouring in. And we've got emails from organizations wanting to partner with us. Shaquille took the tablet, watching the video of Mia stepping off the jet, her shy smile lighting up the screen. He felt a swell of pride, but also a renewed sense of responsibility. "That's good," he said, his voice steady. "But it's not just about money or partnerships. It's about making sure we stay true to what we started." Laura nodded. "I agree. That's why I wanted to talk to you about expanding the mentorship program. I've been thinking about how we can reach more young people, especially those who don't think they have a chance to succeed." Shaquille leaned back in his chair, considering her words. "What are you thinking?" "Well," Laura began, her voice gaining momentum. "What if we created a training program for students interested in aviation? Scholarships, mentorship, hands-on experience, the whole package. We could call it something like Liftoff." Shaquille's face lit up. "I like that. Liftoff. It's perfect." Within weeks, the Liftoff program was in motion. The initiative aimed to empower young people from underserved communities, providing them with the resources and support they needed to pursue careers in aviation and beyond. Shaquille made it a point to be involved in every step, from selecting the first cohort of students to meeting with potential partners. The inaugural group of trainees included 10 students from diverse backgrounds, each with a unique story of perseverance. Among them was Malik, the shy teenager Shaquille had met during one of Wings of Hope's mentorship dinners. Shaquille personally delivered the news to Malik, who was stunned into silence before breaking into a wide grin. "You believed in me," Malik said, his voice trembling with emotion. "I won't let you down." Shaquille placed a reassuring hand on Malik's shoulder. "It's not about letting me down, Malik. It's about proving to yourself that you can do this. And I know you will." The training program quickly became a cornerstone of Wings of Hope. It offered not only technical skills, but also lessons in leadership, resilience, and self-confidence. Shaquille often joined the sessions, sharing his own journey and encouraging the students to dream big. "You have to believe in yourself before anyone else will," he told the trainees one day. "There were times when people doubted me, when I doubted myself, but every step forward starts with faith in what you can achieve." As the program gained momentum, Shaquille began to see the ripple effect of his efforts. Malik, once hesitant and unsure, began to thrive in the program. His confidence grew with each milestone, and he quickly became a leader among his peers. Watching Malik's transformation reminded Shaquille of why he had started Wings of Hope in the first place. Beyond the training program, Wings of Hope continued its mission of providing critical flights and resources to those in need. One particularly memorable mission involved transporting medical supplies to a remote Native American reservation in Arizona. The community had been struggling with limited access to healthcare, and the delivery was a lifeline. As Shaquille helped unload the supplies, he was approached by an elder from the community. "You're not just bringing medicine," the elder said, his voice filled with gratitude. "You're bringing hope, and that's something we've needed for a long time." Those words stayed with Shaquille, fueling his determination to expand the program even further. He began exploring ways to take Wings of Hope global, partnering with international organizations to reach communities in need around the world. The vision was ambitious, but Shaquille was no stranger to aiming high. As Wings of Hope continued to grow, so did its influence. The initiative became a beacon of what could be achieved when adversity was met with action. For Shaquille, it was never about the accolades or the headlines. It was about the people whose lives were changed by the work they were doing. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Shaquille stood on the tarmac, watching a Wings of Hope jet take off. The plane's engines roared as it ascended into the night sky, its lights disappearing into the darkness. Laura joined him, her expression one of quiet pride. "You've built something incredible, Shaq," she said, "and this is just the beginning." Shaquille nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "It's not about me," he said simply. "It's about the people we're helping. And as long as there's work to be done, I'm not stopping." As the jet vanished from view, Shaquille felt a deep sense of fulfillment. What had begun as a moment of humiliation and anger had transformed into a movement that was making a real difference. And while the road ahead was long, Shaquille knew one thing for certain. He was exactly where he was meant to be. Thank you for watching this heartfelt story on empathy stories. If it moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel to support more inspiring content. Remember, even in the face of challenges, compassion and determination can create lasting change. Join us again soon for another story that reminds us of the power of empathy. See you next time.